But James, I want to talk about Tina. Can you give us a brief introduction of what Tina CMS is?
Yeah, so Tina is basically a visual editing experience for content that's stored in Git via Markdown or JSON or MDX, which is coming soon. So
Nice.
you'll be able to do cool component stuff. Basically, the idea here is we felt the Jamstack was missing an important feature, which you see in WordPress or in traditional CMSs are kind of like a database with a form. But with like WordPress, you could have that sort of visual editing experience where you could edit and you could see it before you published it. Well, we decided that we needed the visual editing experience in the Jamstack on a live site that you could edit, change, add content, remove content, move your content around, and actually get that visual feedback immediately. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind Tina and how it works. It's all in Getbacks and it's all Markdown/JSON. So it's super lightweight and allows content writers and editors to have a great experience.
Okay, excellent. And so I can connect this to my Next.js site.
Yeah.
Do I have to connect some hooks or something like that to point the contact to?
Yeah. So the way that works is actually, if you scroll down a bit further, right here, just there, the command line quick starts.
Yep.
So essentially, you can just do npx at TinaCMS/CLI init, and we'll bootstrap Tina into your application. And we'll override some things like your app.js, and we'll add our .tina folder, things like that to get you up and running. And then at that point, basically you create a schema file. In that schema file plus GraphQL tells us exactly what you want to do with your content. But with our command quick line, you can pretty much add it to your site in basically in minutes. Okay. Versus having to rework a whole site. If it's already marked down, it's pretty easy to work with.
Okay, so cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, speaking of working with it, you came ready to prepared with a demo. So I'd love to switch to your screen and let's
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. All right, you guys can see my screen. I'm actually currently logged in as an editor, so you can see this sort of sidebar here, which we can kind of push out a little bit to get a bit more of a working experience. And essentially, yeah, we can start editing things. So we can say, welcome, GitHub followers, and hit save. And this will save to the Markdown file immediately. And if this was fully deployed, what would happen is you would kick off a new build, and that would be delivered to your, the next person that visits the site. Along with that, you can do things. If we sort of go out of this screen, you can rearrange your content. So let's, for example, say that we don't want the hero here, but we'd like these features to be on top. We can just drag and drop, and we'll immediately do that for you. So now your content is rearranged.
Is this creating a commit in the backend?
Yeah. So once you hit the save button, once it's deployed, we actually just commit it right to your GitHub account.
Okay.
When you do it locally, obviously we just sort of change the file system for you.
Got it.
So you can sort of do a rearrange and hit save, and we'll know what order this should be in. You can add things. For example, if we wanted a testimonial, you could add that to your screen. It's there. We definitely don't want it at the top. We want it at the bottom, easily editable. And you can also do things like change a theme. Maybe you don't like blue. Maybe you're more of a purple fan. Hit save. And behind the scenes, we're doing some stuff with Tailwinds for this demo. And this demo is available as a template. So if you never checked Tina out before, if you go to TinaCMS's GitHub, there's a template called Tina Cloud Starter that'll allow you to do the same things that you're seeing on screen. What I'd really like to do is probably show how this kind of works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So right now you're seeing it from the perspective of, hey, I'm just a content writer. Let me just move stuff around. Oh, I really like this color, blah, 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 versus what's actually happening as a developer. So let's open Visual Studio Code, and let me just bump up the size a bit more. That should be pretty good.
Yep.
So behind the scenes, we have this thing called a schema file. And this schema file is in this .tina So when you bootstrap the application, we make the Tina file for you, and we'll give you like a basic schema. This is quite a complex schema, has a lot in it. But if we kind of scroll down and maybe find something that's a bit more normal, here we go. So here we have like a author. So we've set a schema file here that says, these are our authors. Here's the name for the GraphQL queries. And here's where you can actually find the content. So if you look in my project here, if I kind of close everything, we have this content here, authors, and that's where my two authors are found. And that's where we'll be looking for these authors. And inside of that, we have a name and an avatar. So if I click in here, in the markdown file, you can see we have an avatar and the name Napoleon. And what's happening behind the scenes is when you generate this type, we essentially have like a GraphQL layer that allows us to look at what's in your schema file and match that to make the sidebar the way that it is. So when TinaCMS first began, you had to basically manually make every single form. So you had to tell us what pieces you were allowed to edit, what you weren't allowed to edit, et cetera, et cetera. So we've actually, with our cloud offering now, made this much faster. So we have this GraphQL layer. You can just tell us the types that we're expecting and the names that you want to give it, and that will show up for the user. And then what's happening behind that? So once you've built this schema file and you're happy with that, what we have is this GraphQL layer, and we're using get static props and get static paths if needed. And what we're doing is essentially making these queries that you have to create. Currently, at the moment, you have to create them yourself. We offer a way to do that right in the browser. If you go to localhost 4001, and that will give you the option to essentially play around with your queries and get the data that you want. So in this example, what we're getting is the title, we're getting the author, we're also getting the date, hero image, and then the body, which is obviously the content body. And this allows us to essentially edit this. And what you'll see is all we do is return the props, and then you can use that props data to essentially fill in your form. So in this example, if I go into this post and we go down here, you'll see that there's like data.title or data.name, avatar, and then formatted date. All those things are coming from that static props and being pushed into the site. So you get the speed and reliability of static generation. So you're not missing out on any of that, but you still get the real-time editing experience for your users.
Yeah, that's pretty crafty. And I'm curious, like folks approaching this, if you already have a Next.js app, let's say you already have a marketing site up and running, it's using Next.js. Can you embed Tina after you've already have a bunch of stuff on the page?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you, like, for example, let's see if we can do some off brand here. So let's see if I've got anything I can use in the demos to give you an example. Okay, so we have this Tina Quick Start, which is probably very small right now, but let me just open this in code. So this is a Next.js site that doesn't have Tina on it. This is just the bog standard, whatever comes from Next.js quick starts. So this doesn't have anything on it. But if you wanted to add Tina, let's say you only wanted to add Tina to a specific part of your website. So you don't have to put it everywhere. You could just put it in one place. So in this example, if we did like npx at TinaCMS CLI, and we made this latest, so we can get the latest and greatest, what's going to happen is we're going to install all the dependencies that you need for Tina. So everything that you need, the TinaCMS packages, the Tina CLI, all of that's going to be installed for you. Then we're also going to create a simple schema file that will allow you to extend it however you want. So we do like a really basic schema that allows you to understand how the schema works. Then once that's done, we also wrap your app.js in Tina. So it's available on whatever page you want to put it on. And then it's up to you to implement what pages use Tina. So if you use get static props and you decide to just grab data from a file system or from a different CMS, that's perfectly fine. But you can denote where you use it on your application, what pages can and can't be edited, where you can add new documents or not. So it can be really helpful if, for example, maybe your marketing site doesn't change very often, and it's not worth it on the front page, but you write a ton of blog posts.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to write it in Markdown because maybe you don't understand what Markdown is.
Yeah.
We can give you that flexibility.
Yeah, and one of the thoughts that come to mind is like the testimonials things that you had talked about.
Yep.
Those are something that perhaps maybe your team frequently changes. Maybe you want to keep them fresh of like the last 3 tweets. Not even the last 3 tweets, but like the last 3, notable people that want to provide some context of your product. Keeping it fresh, maybe you can always have that get updated, and you don't need to kick off a release and a pull request and all this other normal development best practices, just to change a little bit of copy.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that I feel the Jamstack is struggling with, right? Is we want to push more people into the like SSG or some variant of that. But the problem is that if you're a content writer, in some cases, you actually have to go to a developer and be like, I would like X. And the developer's like, I'll update that copy for you, or, yep, just push a PR and we'll deal with it later. Like there's this whole release cycle that is involved. Versus with Tina, you could be like, okay, as a developer, this is what I've given you access to. These are all the things you can edit. Here's how it works. Okay, off you go. And then as a developer, you never have to worry again. They can't break anything they're not allowed to touch. And they're in charge of their own content and data.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it looks like this is still okay. Now you have this question if you want to override the app, which you had called out in the homepage.
Yep. So if you, for example, had a really complicated, like this app.js was super complicated, you had a bunch of data in there, and you just didn't want to have us override it, we can do that. You just click no, and we'll tell you what you need to put in here. So we'll tell you, hey, just drop in this and drop in this import, and you'll be good to go. What we do, which is I think is really nice, is we'll actually look for any style sheets that you've imported in your app.js and put them back for you. Yeah. So you won't lose out on styles, which is, can be really painful if you've got a bunch of style sheets. So what's happened here is we've bootstrapped, and now you have this Tina editor provider and also this TinaCMS. And now that's wrapped around your components. So when you're in editing mode, we'll use this version. And when you're not, you'll just serve up regular page props and components. And when you deploy to the cloud, these things can become important. Some of this is V1 stuff, like we don't actually use organizations anymore. But if you're using the old version, you can still use them. It's backported. So let me show you kind of what happened behind the scenes so that so what we've done is we've created this new demo file here.
Yeah.
And in this demo file, this is fully editable with Tina. And we've added in a content folder here with a Hello World post that gives you access, like you can edit any of this as you see fit. And then we've created a really basic schema. And when I mean the last one was complicated, this is what a basic schema looks like. It's just got a title and then the body. And those are 2 things. So if we launch this site now, what we can do is you'll see that nothing has changed behind the scenes. It will still look just like it did before for the other people. But if we go to the specific, I'm still
running that.
Still running it somewhere. Let's see here.
Is it in your VS Code? Did you run it from there?
Yeah, there we go. I don't normally do that. I promise. There we go. All right. All right. CD. Yep. It's been a while since I've live coded. All right. Let's see. Tina. Quick start. And so now what we've done also is so that we don't break your application, we've added these 3 Tina specific ways to launch your application.
Got it.
So your old ones will still work the same, and now you can use the Tina ones if you happen to be trying to, integrate it slowly.
Yeah.
So if I type yarn Tina dev, we'll spin up a local version of our GraphQL, and we'll start Next.js at the same time. So now, in theory, if I go to localhost, it should no longer be this, and it should be something else. Maybe. You can do it. My poor MacBook is,
I take it you're not using an M1.
I am not using it. I wish I was using an M1. I am not using an M1. I'm using a 2019 MacBook, and once I have like Zoom open and one thing, that's the end of the road for it. So you can see that nothing has really changed here. All the content still exists from Next.js.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be logged in as a editor, what you'll see is it will just say, welcome to Tina. Let's set up a form. So you couldn't actually edit anything on this page.
Yeah, because you probably have to go in and do all the edits in your your copy.
Yep, exactly. So what we can do is go to the site, which is /demo/blog, and then hello world, I believe is the right one. This has changed a few times over the period here. So let's see. Okay, so here is an example. And now when they click this, we actually give them the ability to edit. So we can just clear everything out and then start typing away. And if you happen to type some stuff in Markdown, it will also help them, it will do Markdown stuff for you. Even if you're in this is just a plain text area box versus the actual Markdown editor that we offer. And then, like I said, MDX is coming, so you'll be able to actually use components on pages so that, as a developer, you can build a bunch of components and then give it to your content writers, and they can just click a button and it will drop the component in. They can edit all the fields, hit save, and that component will live on that page.
Perfect. Yeah, this is extremely powerful too as well. And we had a question come up, which I want to address. It's like to a bandits, which I hopefully I got that right. Was wondering if you could do scheduled or time updates, which I guess I know the answer to that, but I'm curious what your response is.
No is the answer. I mean, in theory, I suppose you wouldn't want to, is basically the point. From a content editing experience, you would want to be able to edit the content and then the content goes there. Yeah. You can do things behind the scenes, like on my own personal site, which I use Tina on. When I'm adding new blog posts, I have a check flag that basically marks them as published or not, or edited or changed or whatever. And if it's not true, I won't push it out to it won't show up in my Next.js site and you can't access it anywhere. But yeah, for the most part, you will want to just be pushing this out. One thing to note is that branching is not supported right now.
Okay.
But we're working. Yeah, we're working on that right now. So you could technically set the branch. If I show you in the demo in the app.js, you can actually set the branch that you want as the editable branch. Yep. So you could set that as your development, and then you could approve that afterwards and merge it into main. And then in the future, we're going to have proper branching support. So you can switch between branches if you're working on a bunch of content editing. You'll be able to do that soon, which is an old feature we had, but is going to be new for Tina Cloud.
Yeah. And my suggestion would have been, whatever you're deploying to, so perhaps you're using Vercel or something else, you could time those deploys on those platforms. Mm-hmm. But also, if you wanted to, once the branch feature is actually shipped, perhaps GitHub Actions you could schedule those to be able to pull it or open the PR or merge that to the main branch.
Yep, exactly. Yep, and that's basically one of the most requested features. Second most requested feature was branching, and that's because sometimes you don't want to publish directly to your main and it's a bit clunky for some people to be like, well, I've set the branch in production to be, this branch. So when you do an edit, we save it somewhere else. And then you have to go and check for that for cell deployment, see if it looks exactly what you expected or whatever. And then, okay, yeah, now we can merge that PR or somebody else has to approve it.
Yeah.
So soon, branching, that will probably help you with those timed deployments.
Yeah, and I could also see for the content creator or editors be able to, when branching a ship, perhaps they want to do A/B testing. So if you do
Yep.
ship it to multiple branches, one branch, whatever it is, keep main pristine, but have like a sort of testing branch. You can leverage things like the split testing or A/B
Yep.
testing in the wild, but also still have the ability for content editors to edit their stuff directly.
Yep. Exactly. And basically that's what we want in the future, is the ability to do A/B testing, or to maybe you've got some wild component that you want to try out in MDX that you think would look really cool, or is something that you really think is important, and then you ship it and realize that you haven't used it ever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, we didn't even use it. Those kinds of things are important. And yeah, so branching should be coming very soon. I think it's the next thing after MDX gets fully supported.
Excellent. And my follow-up question, because I wanted to switch gears and chat about the actual open source project side of it.
Yep.
And so basically, how can I keep up to date with like what's getting shipped, like MDX and branching? Do you all do that in the open, or is there a release or a changelog?
So TinaCMS that you're currently on right now, everything is done in the open. And we also have somewhere in the open, let me just switch screens, and we can leave that up for now. We have a ability to get involved in the discussions and things like that. But yeah, everything is done in this TinaCMS package that you're in right now.
Yeah.
Anything that's not in the cloud is openly sourced and done. Every issue is filed. PRs are done in the wild. Feel free to look at issues if you feel like you want to contribute. We have people in our Discord come in and say, hey, like I found this weird bug. Here's the PR for it. I've opened it up for you. Feel like, go for it. And yeah, Jeff is one of our guys in the open source team. As you can see, he is currently working on MDX improvements.
Excellent.
Even though I think it's pretty solid already, I've been secretly playing with it for a while. But yeah, all our PRs are there. Everything that you could, we basically don't hold back unless it's in the cloud, which doesn't really affect the editing experience.
Yeah.
We do it all in the wild in the TinaCMS packages. Cool. Like I said, if you have problems, jump in the Discord. If you want to chat about how you could use it, my calendar is very open. I have people coming in, have some guys from Brazil talking next week to see how I can help them. So yeah, come down, join in, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I do.
Perfect. All right, y'all. This is our last actual Open Source Friday stream scheduled. So if you have an open source project, and you want to come on the stream next month, we're going to take a couple weeks off because of GitHub Universe. So join us at GitHub Universe in 2 weeks. I think it's going to be a Wednesday and Thursday. But if you do want to show up on November, hit me up and we'll get you on the list.
Awesome.
Cool. Cheers.